All right, it's still Midday Live to a developing story that has to do with the fuel hike and also transportation fares as the 15% increment in fares. And we're going to Daniel Latte. He followed the story yesterday and we have him on the phone line to give us an update today. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, Wendy.
Now, where exactly are you and what have you gathered today?
Well, Wendy, we just left the 37 transport yard, and it appears that the increase in the fuel prices is affecting patronage of taxi services. Now, even though the GPRTU have given directives for the various unions to add 15% of their old fares, taxi drivers here at 37 transport yard say charging for short distances has become a difficult challenge. But Wendy, I can also confirm that most of the social unions here at 37 transport yards have printed a list containing the approved fares to various destinations. For instance, from Nungwa to Kaneshi was 1 city 70 pesos, but today, as we speak, it is 2 cities. Let me also say that because most drivers are not comfortable with the 5 pesos change, they have rounded up their fare to a flat rate. And now, if you allow me, I would like to run you down a few of the listed approved fares from the station. So, from Nungwa to Kaneshi, as I said, was 170 pesos. Today, it's 2 cities. From Nungwa to Accra was 1 city 50 pesos. Today, it's 1 city 70 pesos. From Nungwa to Circle was 1 city 50 pesos. Today, it's also 1 city 70 pesos. And from Accra to Akumono used to be 1 city 70 pesos. Today, they rounded it up to 2 cities. From Techi to Accra was 1 city 40 pesos. As we speak, it's 1 city 50 pesos. Lastly, let's talk about Labadi. From Labadi to Accra, it's 1 city 20 pesos. They've added 20 pesos, making 1 city 40 pesos. And when you are coming from Circle to Kanishi, you've been paying 70 pesos, but today they're ready to pay 90 pesos. These are a few of the changes they've made. And of course, what is happening at the 37 station this afternoon.
Okay, Daniel, you earlier on touched about the taxi drivers. Does it mean that people are just not going for them because they aren't certain about what to charge or how to go about it in the first place?
It's true. They've been having confrontations with the passengers as to their agreed fare. And so, because the transport structural vehicles are readily available, people would want to shift to it. Let's also not forget that the Metro Mass Transit did not increase fares. And so this is bringing a sort of challenge for people who have increased, especially for the taxi drivers who do not know how much to charge for short distances.
And when did they get their approved fares at 37 specifically?
It is from their unions. They printed a list, as I said.
So they got it this morning?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Daniel Latte, for that update. And in the studio this afternoon, I do have Alhaji Aliyu Baba. He is the General Secretary, Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, and to talk more about the increase in transport fares. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam.
I'm sure you heard my colleague Daniel Latte in the report. First of all, the approved fares are out.
Exactly.
When did they come out?
Actually, we circulated this fares during the weekends.
During the weekend.
And I want to believe those who never had it as at yesterday might could get it by today.
But during the weekend and as at yesterday, there weren't changes in fares, and we're now hearing that because he went out yesterday and there wasn't any change as at yesterday.
Okay.
I'm sure it was just the floating taxi drivers who had probably increased their fares, but there wasn't any change where he went to. But today there is some change. So what about the delay?
But this,
because it's not like you didn't know.
We knew about it.
We
had prepared ourselves adequately to meet and at least ensure that the problems we were facing of past could not happen again.
But it still happened.
But this is where I want to explain. You see, when we met at the Flaster House on Friday evening, the Chief of Staff, the Minister for Transport, and the other stakeholders, we came up with an agreement, and based on the agreement, on the increase in the transport fare. Actually, we will not call it increase in transport fare because our arrangement has been that we'll be doing transport fare review in every 6 months. The first increase occurred in January 24th, and we were to do another review at the end of June and come out with a fare increase of fare review in 1st July. But unfortunately, it could not happen because we got some information concerning this the hike in petroleum prices, and then this scarcity or shortage, which really has caused our delay in coming out to the due phase. And we believe that just around the 7th of July to 8th, we started experiencing this shortage in fuel. This happened, and it was very, very serious to the detriment of our operators or drivers. At certain stage, they have to buy fuel at 50 Ghana cedis per gallon, and it did not really translate well in the business. So at the end of it all, we got the information that they were to do an increase. And this increase in fuel prices, which we all know, 23% for petroleum, diesel, and then 22 for diesel, is 23% for petrol and 22 for diesel. So this happened, then we have to factor this into our calculations. Mostly when we talk about review, what we take into account is we do a market survey of all the or the variables. And I was hearing the managing director of Metro Mass that their market survey did not say much. It did not really, there was no serious increases in the variables. I may have to challenge him a bit.
I get you, but it looks like you're veering off a bit. Well noted, you have explained the reasons why you've increased and all that, but yes, the issue is that you had these approved fees during the weekend.
Yeah, during the weekend.
But how come there was a delay in circulation?
Okay, like on our side, the GRTCC, we ensured every branch, all the regions had the copies. And the instructions further to this has been that if you make photocopies available to all the loading points, all the branches and locals, and ensure that at least every driver who is loading from a point should have a copy of the fare. This will enable the drivers to know exactly what to charge. Okay. But the complaints we received as of yesterday really could be attributed to the few problems the GPRT had.
So it was with the GPRT?
It's with the GPRT.
Okay, now...
So what we have decided doing, because we work as a team, is that after this, or from here, I'll ensure that we'll make more copies and circulate. Because they were calling from Tema, Ashama, and other areas that they never had a list. Unfortunately, my colleague, which is the General Secretary of the GPR, to travel to Brazil over the weekend.
But you admit this could have been prevented?
It should have been prevented, but the people we left in charge really maybe had the problem.
Okay. Now, when we spoke to Daniel, when I did speak with Daniel, he spoke about taxi drivers and they being unable to fix prices, specifically for short distances. No, hasn't that been resolved also?
No, I want to believe all these things had been done in advance. We prepared these people operating on the route, that is the taxis going from route to route. We had their own fare list. We gave it to they are in charge, who is the cooperative people, to distribute all over. We gave copies to the GPR2 as well. So I believe these copies should have reached them. But I'm not saying that because this has traveled during the weekend, the people they left in charge maybe might have delayed.
So we're confident you follow up?
They will follow. I'm doing this follow-up today because I reported to the ministry as I was coming.
And he mentioned some fares. Are those the specific and right fares?
Exactly. I have within this studio and to feed you more about what we did. You see, we observed that normally when there are fare increases, some drivers take advantage of where we have to do, they will see some changes, then they will run it up the way they want. So we carefully studied this situation for the past and did this calculation fairly. If at a certain point we marginalize it, we have to run it up For instance, if you look at where they are taking 70, this is a guide to them, but now they will have to spell out their routes. Where they have to take 70, by calculation, they should take 80 plus some few coins.
So if you say some few coins, imagine if I'm boarding a church from Circle to Medina, and for instance, it is 1 cedi 50 pesos.
Exactly.
And probably someone has to alight at Flagstaff House. How much is the person supposed to pay?
Sincerely speaking, this is the area where we may have problem with the drivers, because when you go from Circle, the car is positioned for Medina. Before it takes off, it knows it's carrying full set for Medina. So based on that, if you are coming down at what you call 37, then you may have problem.
But that should be spelled out in the new fares you have now.
No, this is what we have done.
If you say this is a problem, it means that you didn't anticipate it. This always comes up. And if a driver...
I wanted to explain, you have land. You know what really happens is that if somebody is really positioned to loading for Medina, you cannot ask him to take 37 passenger, because we have 37 routes. Some cars are, if you go to Circle now, you see Medina, Asarabuche, that they are all lined up. So if you find yourself, for you to go to enter maybe on the line and you go and join Medina route, sincerely speaking, you have to pay for the route, because you are joining from a point.
That's the exact fare.
That's exactly.
But if there's a route where there's none like you're giving, what happens?
I am coming. I'll go down to that.
And we have to wrap up.
For instance, if you look at the situation, when the cars go and they are coming, they can be picking Medina. In this situation, they will now have to charge. For instance, if you are coming from Medina and they call Medina 37, and you join that car, you have to pay the 37 fare.
Which is, if the car is from Medina to Circle, if the car is from Medina to Circle, and I want to alight at 37, and it's the original price from Medina to Circle is 1 cedi 50 pesos, and I am alighting at 37.
You have to pay the 37 fare, because which is give me the figure for 37.
I'm using an example here that if I'm supposed to move, I'm in a Medina to Circle vehicle, and I want to alight at 37. Which will be the fare? If the original price from Medina to Circle is 1 cedi 50 pesos, how much am I supposed to pay?
Okay, if the fare from Medina to 37 is 150, you have to pay 1 cedi 75 pesos.
If from Medina to Circle
is 150, you pay 1 cedi 75 pesos.
Why?
If you work the 15%, it's exactly so.
No, I'm saying that if someone is in a vehicle from Medina to Circle, but the person isn't going to Circle but will alight at 37, how much is the person supposed to pay?
And this is the situation I'm trying to explain. Get it very fair. You know, we have various routes. If you are joining Circle route, the buses are there for Circle. If you join Circle route, you pay Circle fare. But when you find yourself in Medina,
so how about Medina to Tetekwashi?
Medina to Tetekwashi, this will only happen when you see the driver. Some of them don't even wait for they drop the people and start calling for these short distances. In this situation, you have to pay for Tetekwashi fare. Are you getting my point?
But the Tetekwashi fare is not in here.
No, so if you tell me how much,
is it a driver?
It is there. There is a guide to everything.
Okay.
Where they take maybe Tetekwashi 1 cedi. You're supposed to pay 1 cedi 15 pesos.
Okay.
And this thing, we have said that they should even circulate it to all the passengers.
What I'm asking is about the subsidiary stops.
And this is why I follow.
Make stops. If he's from Circle to Medina, he won't just move straight away like that. There are several stops on the way.
I do agree.
Okay.
But I'm trying to tell you the differences in what you are experiencing now. One, if a vehicle parks at Medina and he calls Medina, and you join Medina, definitely you should know that you are joining Medina and you'll be paying for Medina fare.
So you will pay for the Medina
when you join it from the point, the loading point.
And if you don't?
If you don't and they pick you on the highway, that is where you have to pay for Tetekwashi fare or whatever fare you are
at the driver's discretion or from the fare?
From the fare indicated.
And if they charge more, what happens?
This is the point where if our attention is drawn upon, we will deal with the driver.
Which way? What will happen?
There are many measures which we are planning. Maybe by way of
you're now planning these.
We have it, but we need, we have to sit down with the other party, my colleagues who have traveled, Because I can't just go on the air and say...
But this is no new thing. These things happen. Sometimes they overcharge. What happens? So it means that nothing has been done to drivers who overcharge over the years.
Look, we have another problem, which you should understand. Most of these drivers, they do not belong to unions.
Okay.
And these are the floating drivers. How do you get them? How do you arrest them?
All right. Well, thank you very much. I have been speaking with Alhaji Aliyu Baba. He is the General Secretary, Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. We're looking at the increase in prices as transport fare.